All right, welcome back to Afternoon Drive, another edition. My name is Drew Moholland. This is my wife, Sarah Conway. How's everybody doing out there? How you doing, Sarah?
I'm doing good. How are you doing, Drew?
Good. One more show for the week. We had Terry Eliason on the other day. You enjoyed that one, didn't you?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Nice fellow.
Very nice. Very informative.
Good. After talking about how we haven't been doing the headband City.
Yeah, it's not my favorite look.
No. You know what, though? It makes sense today because we got I got a little tennis show. For those of you who don't know, I used to play tennis in high school. Actually, my only other job other than radio and show hosting and all that stuff has been that I ran the town tennis program back here in Danvers back in the day.
Yeah.
Which was a lot of fun. If you could do it all year round, I might always do that. You're outside all day, just hitting balls to kids. It's pretty fun.
Yeah, that's great. I don't know what that has to do with your headband. But
Well, it's tennis. It's kind of you would do this look.
no,
This would be a head. I used to do it. It's what it is.
that you would do a woman's headband
No, this
for
is
tennis.
this is not a woman's headband. This is just a headband.
It is, but technically.
All right. Now, what makes it a woman's headband?
It says a woman's headband.
I don't care what it says. Why? It's the same. It's a headband is a headband.
Okay.
Well, I just want to know what makes it a woman's headband.
It just says it on when I ordered it, that's what it said. I got them for me.
I think it looks good, and it's convenient.
Sure.
It keeps the long hair out of my eyes, and I like it.
Okay.
And I wear them playing tennis. I really need to start playing tennis again too. I missed that game.
Mm-hmm.
Did you see the story about a fellow vegan friend of yours? That you don't actually know him, but you're both vegans. Novak Djokovic got coronavirus.
Oh, he actually got it? I didn't know
Yeah,
that.
he tested positive the other day because all those boys over there, they played in the thing that Novak organized, and the tournament was not great with social distancing and stuff. A lot of those places didn't have too many cases, but still, got to be careful. The thing spreads fast. It doesn't take much, and they think there was a night like they played in Belgrade, and then the boys went out, and there's like video surfacing showing these guys dancing and partying together, and next thing you know, we got a handful of players, at least, probably even more, now who have come down with coronavirus.
I think we're going to see that a lot more now that we start to open up. People just kind of letting their guard down too much.
It's going to be tough.
So
I'm going to talk with a guy today who has all sorts of stories. It's actually that tennis program I told you about. He taught me everything I know about running a tennis program. It's this a guy named Ken Rawson, who was a great tennis teacher. He splits his time a little bit between here and Florida these days. He's also coaches in the Merrimack Valley, Cape Ann League, coaches some tennis up there, some high school tennis. We're going to talk to him. He's got great stories, though, not only about teaching tennis, but also about the U.S. Open, because he worked at the U.S. Open in New York City, which is on my bucket list to do, go to the U.S. Open in New York. So we're going to talk about that. They're actually planning on having the U.S. Open at the moment, which is why stories like Djokovic there, I don't think are great. It can only hurt the tournament.
yeah, maybe not anymore. We'll have to see, I guess.
Cuomo there said it will happen. They got rules and very strict rules in place. That's what people are upset about. Players are like, it's going to be unfair. So I can't bring my coaches. I can't do, you can only bring a certain amount of people. You have to stay in certain hotel rooms. And yeah.
Yeah. I think if there's any sport you can do, tennis makes sense. Golf too.
Yeah.
Golf makes sense. Those are sports that are very, you're distant from the person that you're playing with. So.
So we'll bring Ken in here in a moment. We need some rain. I haven't had to mow the lawn in a while. Lawn's kind of burned.
You do need to mow the lawn.
Oh, I do? Like right now?
Yeah, like this.
Really?
Yeah, you'll have to do it soon, in the next couple of days.
Unfortunate news. Good time to say goodbye to Sarah.
Okay, bye.
I'll bring in Ken. Thank you, Sarah. Cheers. Coffee, cheers. Goodbye. All right. Ken Rawson now. Let's bring him in. All right. Welcome back. Live from Drew's Kitchen. My name is Drew Moholland. We bring in now my Well, he's a bit of an old mentor of mine, Ken Rawson. He taught me everything I know about running a tennis program back in the day. This guy he was great with the kids, and we used to run the Danvers program together. And Ken taught me how to deal with little kids who don't really know much about tennis, but he told me how to get them started. Ken, how are you?
I'm great. Thank you, Drew. Nice to hear from you.
It's good to see you. Well, hey, the lot going on here. You coached the Manchester by the Sea or Manchester Essex girls tennis squad, and obviously the tennis season did not happen. This must have been a unique set of circumstances for you.
Oh, of course. We had never had this kind of problem come up before, and certainly when it started, we had no idea that it would end our tennis season prematurely. We had one meeting back in the first week of March for our spring coaches, and then it was sitting and waiting. And we went through 2 postponements, which gave us some hope that we were going to play, but eventually we were canceled, and so I picked up my rackets and went home. But it was a big disappointment, and not to say it's my disappointment. It was more disappointment for the team. I'm absolutely certain they had another state championship in them.
Manchester Essex was a juggernaut over there.
Oh my gosh. I mean, so many things can go wrong, of course, and we didn't even play the season. So obviously that could go wrong, but we basically had the same lineup from our championship season in 2018. And I mean, my goodness, last year, 2019, we missed by a whisker. We missed by a hair repeating as champions. And of course, this season, 2020, I'm absolutely convinced that the girls were championship material again.
That must be, how do you handle that as a coach? Because my guess is that, especially for like the seniors, I mean, you have a lineup like that, your chances are good. I mean, I didn't even have a real chance at a state title when I was playing back in the day, but I would have been devastated to have my senior season ripped away. That must be really hard as a coach to try to deal with that disappointment.
Well, quite honestly, we never got started.
Yeah.
And so the girls never got onto the court. I mean, it's all on paper that I make my judgment that we were that strong. But for seniors, there are so many things they missed out on. Obviously, a championship is a nice thing, but they didn't even have their graduation. They didn't have their senior prom. They didn't do any of the things that you and I were able to do as seniors in high school. And so missing out on a state championship, well, yeah, that's too bad. But gee whiz, you only have one bite at the apple for graduation and such. And so it's a shame, of course.
Getting joined here by tennis instructor Ken Rawson. Ken, you said you picked up your rackets and went home. Is home Florida technically now?
It is now. I've lived in Florida for 3 years now.
Where are you coming to us from?
I'm in Dunedin, Florida right now, and it's a smaller city, so most people don't know where it is. But I actually live on an island, and it's called Honeymoon Island. And if you Google it, there's only one, so it'll come up. But it's on the Gulf Coast, and it's just north of Clearwater.
Okay, very nice. Well, that's good to know. How is we're hearing about a surge. I would be remiss not to ask you about coronavirus. We're hearing the state is surging. How's your neck of the woods there?
We're in pretty good shape here, I think. However, there's a lot of behavior involving the beach and such that can't be good. It has to be part of the problem, because when there was a causeway that connects our island to the mainland, and both sides of the causeway are a beach. And normally during the week it's fairly quiet, but on weekends and at night there are just simply hordes of high school and college kids, and believe me, there's not a mask in the bunch.
Really?
And I drive through it when I'm connecting to the mainland, of course, and I just have to shake my head because it's such dangerous behavior. But for me personally, all my kids are fine. 2 of them live down here. I've got 3 grandchildren; they're fine, and so I'm still in the fortunate category.
There you go. What they do for Father's Day?
We went for a bike ride, and it was hot, but we left early, and so that was a good time. We stopped for ice cream. It was a lot of fun.
Very good. So that's interesting, though. It's a good, because it's different. I don't, you probably, I know you took off pretty soon once this thing got going here, but this is, Massachusetts pretty much got a pretty good handle on it for now, considering where it was.
But I give your governor credit for being pretty rigid about things there. You're benefiting from that. Down here, our governor, unfortunately, is gung-ho for opening up everything in the state, and it comes at a price. And when you look at those maps on CNN, yeah, Florida is one of the red ones, and it troubles me to see that, but I guess I don't get to say much about it. You mentioned a lot of high school and college kids, and I do notice that. I think just naturally as a high school kid, and maybe I would have been the same way, thinking I'm immune to the world. But is there a lot of talk around not doesn't have to be your age, but a lot of the adults in the community, just any adult at any demographic, just talking about, can you guys believe what's going on the beach? Do we all talk about this together? Oh, of course they talk about it, and adults for the most part are wearing masks. It depends on where you go. Yeah. When you go to the supermarket, like there's a Publix supermarket chain down here, Publix, almost everyone is wearing a mask. You go into the Walgreens drugstore, almost everyone is wearing a mask. But you go to a restaurant and nobody is, and you go to the beach and very, very few people are. I tell you, one other place that's risky is the gym. I go to a local gym. I try to go 3 times a week. I usually come close, but most of the time I'm the only person in the gym wearing a mask.
Really?
Yeah, and to me that's risky. I mean, at least at the beach you're outdoors. But in the gym, I just think that's so risky. But our governor hasn't decided to tell people they have to wear masks indoors. So that's the way it is.
It's amazing what just that distance between you and I right now. The idea of going into a gym is not something that's even being really considered by me. I know I play a lot of basketball. It's something I don't really see coming back for a little bit here. Probably the last thing to come back, but I guess down there is some gym work going on. So do they separate things at the gym? Do they separate the bikes? Is there anything like that going
on? What they did initially was they designated like every other treadmill or every other bike or whatever as please don't do this. And even that stuff seems to have disappeared. So I try to go at a time when very few people are there, and I wear the mask. I don't care that nobody else is wearing one, and I just get in and get out as fast as I can. It's kind of scary.
Yeah, I bet. All right. Well, back to tennis here with Ken Rawson anyway. What did you, I guess it's kind of tough to talk about, tennis and the future of tennis without talking about this pandemic. We just saw Novak Djokovic come down with coronavirus and all his buddies there. That seemed like, talk about reckless behavior. I don't think they handled that one very well over there in Belgrade and wherever else they played. But that was not a great moment for the game, I did not think.
Obviously, they mishandled it horribly. And the thing is, it's not just themselves that they've harmed. I mean, the U.S. Open is supposed to happen in a couple of months.
Exactly what I wanted to talk to you about, yep.
And obviously, what these guys have done is going to impact that significantly. Djokovic is the number one player in the world right now, and he's got it. Federer elected to have knee surgery rather than get involved in any of it. He's going to take the rest of the year off to recover. And so you're going to have a draw that's, well, pretty unusual from the looks of it. I'm sure there'll be plenty of people who are upset that they didn't make the draw, because you realize they're not going to have qualies either.
Right. Yeah.
So there's no way for you to play your way into the draw. You're either going to make it or not. That's going to be tough. I'm not convinced that it's actually going to happen. This is just one more reason to question whether it'll happen or not. Tennis is ideally suited, in my mind, to be able to come back during this pandemic, because it's not like wrestling or basketball where you're sweating and bumping into other people. You're 78 feet away, and so even doubles you can have a good deal of distance. So I think tennis is possibly going to come back. I'm actually playing in a group on Sunday mornings. And I've got some students I'm working with during the week. And tennis, you got a lot of space. And here we play outdoors all the time. So this is, I think, well suited to come back. But the big Grand Slam tournaments, those are all questionable, I think.
And why don't you tell people too, because I think a lot of people who are seeing us talk in my kitchen here for the first time don't know that you worked at the U.S. Open. Yeah, that's my bucket list, to do the U.S. Open in New York City. It's like the thing that it's one of the things that I have to make sure that I get down to do in New York City, make sure I go see the U.S. Open. You have had the pleasure of working there for how many years?
I worked there for 11 years, and I've been a spectator for the last 3. But, of course, this year it's not planned to have any spectators. They've also laid off about half of their employees, as I understand it, because they're not expected to have any crowds. And so people like myself, who used to work in crowd control, if there's no crowd, there's no need to control them, of course.
And that's such a big part of that tournament I think don't they call it the rock concert of like the tennis, the majors? It's like the one with the nightlife. It's New York City, all bright lights. It's
a huge deal. It's something that when you go to it, you're almost overwhelmed by the magnitude of what's going on there. You've got the top players in the world. You've got them all playing there. You've got huge crowds, 800,000 people attend the event. It's like, it's like seeing the Empire State Building or something like that for the very first time. And it's a magnificent event. However, if they don't have the spectators, they're not going to have the revenues that they normally have from the tournament, not even a fraction of what they normally have. I mean, courtside seats in the big stadium go for a couple of $1,000s, and there's going to be nobody paying for those seats, and so it's obviously going to be very different. The USTA, I believe, said they've put up $52 million in prize money for the players when they do hold the tournament. And I don't know, where does the 52 million come from? If they're not going to sell any tickets.
Yeah.
So I don't know, but I'm afraid, my friend, you may have missed your opportunity to go to it, because I'm not sure it'll ever be the same.
Yeah. Wow. That's interesting. I mean, that is scary to think about, it's, you never know how these things are going to come back. It might be a whole different way of going to all sorts of events.
Well, I suppose it'll be on TV, and an awful lot of people do watch it on TV anyway, rather than go to the tournament. But not tennis, but things like baseball that, in my opinion, never fit very well on the TV. I don't know what's going to happen with them. All the professional sports they're all in jeopardy as far as I can tell.
Let's talk about some fun moments though for a second. I want to know, because I know there's New York City US Open. There's always something. Probably every night, I would say you probably saw something that you didn't expect to see. What's your favorite U.S. Open story if you had to pick one?
Oh gosh, I probably should have thought about beforehand. This is just a brief one, but I was in the stadium. I was in the stadium when Federer hit a tweener for a winner in a semifinal against Djokovic. And I mean, I was stunned, and so was Djokovic. Djokovic just stood there while the ball fell in for a winner. But there's one other story too, and that is I was there when Serena Williams was yelling at that judge.
Oh my goodness, you were there that night?
Yeah. And it was pretty graphic.
Yes. Do me a favor. Don't repeat what she said for the kids, if you don't mind.
No.
That's a historic moment. What's it like being there for that? I mean, that's going to go down. That people will never forget that.
Certainly. And I mean, that's why it comes to mind, because it was stunning. It was just stunning to see that and hear it, because she didn't need a microphone. It was loud.
Was there a sense of I've always wondered this, because it's funny, I've seen that clip a million times, and I don't think I ever knew you were in the building for that. That's interesting, but I always look into the crowd, because you're always just everybody there has a story, including you. Now I learn. Was there a sense of like awkwardness in that place?
Oh, you didn't know what was going to happen. You didn't know if the judge was going to storm off the court. You didn't know if Serena was going to storm off the court. You just didn't know, and it was. Hopefully, it's not repeated soon, but it was a unique incident.
And I mean, we all have our moments in life, right? I hope that'll just be hopefully a piece at the bottom of the paper when her career is all over, because it has been something spectacular. But
she's an incredible player, and now that she's gotten older, and she's still a force as far as the rankings are concerned.
Almost immediately after having a child.
Oh yeah. She is remarkable. She's plus I have been very close to her in the past, and to see her in real life up close, this was a number of years ago, but what a physical presence she is. Oh my goodness. I mean, she is just so strong.
Yeah.
It's remarkable. But yeah, I have been up close to her and just was speechless. Not that there was any need to say anything, but yeah, she's something.
Here's a couple of quick ones for you. Who even if it's just from a distance, you don't have to, know these people personally, but who seemed to be like the best as far as like autographs go and with the fans and the men's and the women's side?
Oh, that's tough to say. Serena's pretty good about it, but I'd say Madison Keys. Did I get her last name right?
Yeah, the young American. Well, no, she's not too young anymore, but I guess
she's very good about it. She's somebody who actually talks to the kids and such. So I think she's probably about the best that I've seen.
Was there anybody that you can remember that will always you'll always kind of grind your gears because you said that person did not handle him or herself well?
Well, Kyrgios is the guy who comes to mind, and he could have a great career. He should be in a better situation than he is now, but he has terrible difficulty controlling himself. And there have been players in the past who have managed to overcome that. A guy like McEnroe, my gosh, he's still very active in tennis as a commentator.
Who would have thought he'd be the top color commentator, huh?
I don't think too many people would have guessed that.
Yeah.
But I like him a great deal because he's not afraid to tell you what he says. And so often I think the commentators tend to downplay somebody struggling or whatever. McEnroe doesn't. McEnroe comes right out and says, so and so isn't playing very well today, particularly their serve, their forehand, whatever. And so I appreciate the fact that he's honest, because as a coach, I watch the matches differently than most fans do. And I look for things like technique and strategic mistakes and things that are overlooked. And so he makes me feel better about what I think I'm seeing by confirming what I think is going wrong or whatever.
And I've always thought he has that rare ability to connect with like the person that's not a tennis fan too. He does all that at once, which is a great talent. I've always thought.
Yeah. Oh no, he's. I think he's very good.
All right, little rapid fire here, Ken. We always end our show with a little rapid fire. So here you go. You got to tell me the first thing that comes to mind.
Uh-oh.
All right. Favorite tennis match you ever watched?
The favorite match I ever watched was not in person. It was Wimbledon, Nadal versus Federer. It was the final. It went 5 sets, and I have it on a DVD, and I generally on a rain day will show it to the team, and I only show them the 5th set, because in the 5th set, even Nadal and Federer have errors determine most of the points. And so the reason I show it to them is even players at this level, when they get tired, are going to make mistakes, and whoever makes the fewest mistakes is going to end up being the winner. And so to me, that's the best match, even though I didn't see it in person.
That sounds like a video you show before you're about to do like a conditioning drill or something. Now this means we get in shape.
And well, that's one of the subtexts that are part of the reason I show it. Yes.
Oh, very funny. All right. Favorite, I think I know the answer to this. I think we already talked about it, but I could be wrong. Favorite venue, tennis venue.
Well, I won't say the U.S. Open because there are different stadiums within the U.S. Open. What I will say is my favorite venue is the old grandstand, the one that they ripped down There is a new grandstand, and unfortunately, the new grandstand is built pretty much the same as Arthur Ashe and as the new Armstrong Stadium. The old grandstand, you got to be very, very close to the action, and as well, it was a stadium where you, as an experienced fan or employee, you knew where the shady seats were.
Yeah.
And so early in the day, you would go to one of those shady seats and camp out so that you would be in the shade all day long. And it was a great place to watch tennis. I miss it, and I will also say that Arthur Ashe Stadium is way too big. There are 24,000 seats in it, and it ought to be more like 18,000.
Yeah, don't they say some of those seats up top have a better view of the New York City skyline on some of them?
Well, the ones in the last row, of course. Oh, you feel so bad when somebody comes up to you and hands you a ticket that's like row Z. And you're like, oh, boy.
You still got a ways to go. Oh, man, that is too funny. All right, we'll keep rolling. A couple random ones. Favorite musician of all time?
All time. Chuck Berry.
Ooh, nice answer.
Well, I honestly feel that they could have closed the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame once they let Chuck Berry in, because there was no need to have any others. And interestingly, I saw him on Turner Classic Movies last night. They had a film that they made from the Newport Jazz Festival in 1958. Pardon me. And Chuck Berry was actually appearing there, and I was astounded. At the Newport Jazz Festival, he played "Sweet Little 16."
Wow, very interesting. That's another wow. That's Chuck Berry at the Jazz Festival.
The 1958 Newport Jazz Festival.
My goodness, wow. My guy, you may remember this from our days teaching, my guy was always Springsteen, and he was the backing band for Chuck Berry. Do you remember that?
No.
You remember when he would go around?
Was back up to Chuck Berry?
He would go to these cities and just do a little like solo tour. I think it was a money thing early on. And, Bruce didn't really know him, but had known who he was. And I believe the story goes that, he went up to him and it was like, yeah, we're going to go over a few things. You want to practice? And he looked at him and said something along the lines of, just follow my lead there, boys. We'll be fine. And it worked out just fine. It was interesting. Then you can see some old YouTube videos of a young Bruce Springsteen and the E Street Band playing behind Chuck Berry and just watching this guy with amazement,
I'll have to see if I can find some of that. I know you are a disciple of Bruce Springsteen.
You do remember that, do you?
Oh, I do. You've traveled to many of his concerts. I
have. That is the one thing I'm missing sports and tennis and everything. But man, the idea of me not going to a live concert for however, I was itching to go for one right before this thing started, and now I'm just kind of craving some live music.
None of us have done much of anything in this dilemma. Yeah.
What is your favorite quarantine activity, Ben? I'll end with that one for our rapid fire round.
Oh gosh, cooking.
Cooking, good for you.
I'm I learned to cook a number of years ago, and now it's a skill that comes in handy, because for the longest time, of course, you couldn't go in restaurants, and then you could only get takeout. And now there's some combination of that. But cooking is probably my favorite pandemic activity.
There you go. Very good. Very good. All right. I want to end with this because like I started this show by talking about how you were a great influence on me in my teaching life. I was a young instructor, probably doing some things that were I was kind of learning on the job. Let's put it that way. And
I remember you in the Lisa Raymond drill. You always would step up for the Lisa Raymond drill. Do you remember that?
Go ahead. Keep going.
It's like a 7-ball drill, and you start with backhand, short ball, volley, overhead.
Yep.
That's the Raymond drill.
That's right. I tried to do it right to show the people.
That's exactly right. And of course, you were a wonderful example.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. But I always envied your ability to connect with, especially, I mean, I always found the adults being easier to teach just because that was, I don't know why. Maybe you do too, maybe you don't. But I always envied your ability to teach the young kids and get their attention focused in and get them to love the game. I always envied that about you.
Well, my secret was I was having more fun than they were.
Yeah. That's a good way to go about life, right? If you find something where you're in that spot, you're doing pretty well.
Yeah, I still enjoy it, but boy, I remember we had some huge groups there at times. One day, I'm pretty sure one day we had 45 kids, and oh my gosh, trying to marshal that group, and then of course have them all play in the pit at the end was a madhouse.
Which is just a madhouse game that we ended with to have fun, but it was a blast. I look back on those days. I always say if I could have done that for 12 months of the year, you know, if the weather allowed it here, I could be outside hitting tennis balls to kids all day.
Well, down here, you realize high school season starts here in January.
Yeah. You trying to get me to move, Ken?
No, but the thing I say to people is, why would you want to live anyplace else?
Very interesting. There you go. Well, last question. I keep saying that, but this is truthfully the last one. What are your state on the future of the game? Do you feel confident that tennis is going to come back and reemerge through this, be even stronger, or what?
There's no way it's going to be stronger because you won't have the big tournaments like you used to have. Well, let me put a maybe in there. If somebody comes up with a vaccine so that we can all take this vaccine and we don't have to worry about this virus anymore, yeah, then we will be able to do all kinds of things. But if that doesn't happen, we're going to see tennis, but tennis will be a recreational sport. Other sports, I don't know. Like I said, baseball, boy, I don't know.
Crazy to think about. Well, Ken, it's been great catching up with you. I wish you all the best. Be safe down there in Florida, all right?
I will. Thanks, Drew. Wonderful to hear from you.
Always a blast talking to you, Ken, man. Ken Rawson, pleasure as always.
Take care.
All right, there you go. Ken Rawson, my old, he was the guy I worked with when I grew up learning how to teach tennis in high school and all that stuff. He was the man running the program and took me under his wing and showed me how to teach kids tennis and teach big groups and teach adults and just the proper way to instruct the game. That was when I was still playing in high school, and he kind of took me under his wing. So I will for always be grateful for Ken for that. And as you see, a great guy with some great stories from New York City to Florida to all that stuff. So big thanks to Ken Rawson. Pleasure as always. Thanks for another great week of shows, everybody. Be safe out there. If you're starting to creep back out and go out for dinner and everything, you know, do that social distancing and all that. Let's not take this for granted. You can see what's happening in some of the other states like Florida where the surges are. So, but be good. Enjoy this warm weather we're having, and we will see you next time. All right. My name is Drew Moholland. Big thanks to Ken Rawson. This has been live from Drew's house, another edition. Bye-bye now.